For years, the truth stayed hidden. The victims forgotten. The cases left cold, until science revealed what time could not. This is Decades in the Dark, where cold cases are brought back to light. It was supposed to be the perfect family holiday. Sunshine, sea breezes, evenings filled with laughter. Kate and Jerry McCann were doctors from Leicester, England, raising 3 children in the quiet village of Rothley. In May of 2007, they packed their bags and headed to Portugal's Algarve coast with a group of close friends, later known in headlines as the Tapas 7. Together, the families stayed at the Ocean Club Resort in the small seaside town of Praia da Luz. But on the night of May 3rd, paradise turned into a nightmare. 3-year-old Madeleine McCann was tucked safely into bed. Just hours later, she was gone. No sign of struggle, no forced entry, only an open window, and questions that would haunt the world. That evening, the McCanns joined their friends for dinner at the resort's tapas restaurant. It was just a short walk from their apartment. Close enough, they thought, to check on the children every half hour. At around 9:05 p.m., Jerry slipped away from the table for the first check. Everything seemed calm. Madeleine and her younger twin siblings were asleep. By 9:30, it was family friend Matthew Oldfield's turn. He stepped into the apartment and glanced into the room, seeing the twins. But he didn't move far enough inside to confirm that Madeleine was still in her bed. At 10 p.m., Kate returned for her turn. She opened the bedroom door and froze. Madeleine's bed was empty. The curtains stirred in the night air. The shutters had been lifted, and a mother's scream split the silence, calling the alarm that her daughter was gone. The search began instantly. Resort staff and fellow tourists scoured the grounds. Police were called. But almost from the beginning, the investigation was compromised. The apartment wasn't sealed off as a crime scene. Friends, staff, and neighbors rushed inside, unintentionally trampling through potential evidence. By morning, fingerprints and DNA that could have identified an intruder were useless. Forensic teams didn't arrive until the following day. And by then, the rooms had been cleaned, sheets washed, and surfaces touched by dozens of people. Even more devastating, border alerts weren't issued until well over 12 hours after Madeleine was reported missing. At first, Portuguese police believed she might have simply wandered off, and the case was treated as a missing child, not a likely abduction. Because of this, issuing international alerts required higher authorization, and the bureaucracy cost precious time. If she had been taken out of Praia da Luz, or even out of Portugal, the delay gave an abductor precious time to vanish. Witness statements were collected haphazardly. Some were taken days later. Others were incomplete, or never followed up on at all. By the time the investigation gained momentum, the trail had already gone cold. And into that vacuum, the media rushed in. From the very first hours, investigators considered a stranger abduction. There were reports of unusual activity that night. One witness described seeing a man carrying a small child through the streets near the Ocean Club. The child was dressed in light-colored pajamas, just like the ones Madeleine had been wearing when she disappeared. The timing was chilling. The sighting happened just after 9:30 p.m., between the second and third checks, the narrow window when Madeleine was last confirmed safe. Other guests later recalled spotting a man loitering near the apartments in the days before, watching the families. Some suspected burglars, who panicked when Madeleine woke up and carried her off into the night. Police chased the leads, setting up roadblocks and sketching suspects. But the trail went cold almost instantly. Witnesses disagreed on details, and whoever had been carrying that child was gone before authorities could react. But within months, the investigation took a darker turn. Instead of strangers, Portuguese police began to suspect Kate and Jerry McCann themselves. Authorities claimed there were inconsistencies in their statements, that the window and shutters didn't look forced from the outside, and that it seemed unlikely an abductor could have entered and left so quickly without leaving a trace. In 2007, specially trained dogs were brought in. They alerted to the scent of human blood and to what handlers described as cadaver scent in the apartment. And even in a car the McCanns had rented weeks after Madeleine's disappearance. To investigators, it was enough to raise suspicion. They formally named Kate and Jerry as arguidos, official suspects, suggesting they had covered up an accident in the apartment and staged an abduction. But forensic tests on the samples the dogs indicated came back inconclusive. No evidence directly tied the McCanns to a crime. British authorities publicly supported their innocence, and eventually the arguido status was lifted. Still, the damage was done. The McCanns went from devastated parents to tabloid targets, their every move scrutinized. And for years, the shadow of suspicion hung over them, while the real trail to Madeleine grew colder. As the years passed, theories multiplied. Some believed it was a burglary gone wrong. Others whispered of human trafficking. There were even those who thought Madeleine may have wandered off on her own. Alleged sightings of Madeleine surfaced everywhere, in airports, markets, even across continents. Each brought a surge of hope. Each ended in disappointment. In 2020, investigators revealed a new focus: Christian Brückner, a German national with a long criminal history. Brückner was no stranger to police. By the time Madeleine disappeared, he had already racked up convictions for burglary, child abuse, and drug offenses. He was also known to have lived in the Algarve region of Portugal, just a few miles from Praia da Luz, at the very time the McCanns were on holiday. He drove a distinctive camper van, the kind that could easily hide a child, and his phone records placed him in the area on the night Madeleine vanished. Later, authorities uncovered that he had been convicted of sexually abusing young girls and of sexually assaulting a woman in Portugal in 2005. Just 2 years before Madeleine disappeared, that conviction alone painted him as the kind of predator capable of snatching a child. German prosecutors say they are convinced Brückner killed Madeleine. Yet despite circumstantial evidence, his violent past, his presence in the area, his van, there is no physical proof linking him directly to the crime. No DNA, no body, no confession. Brückner, for his part, has denied any involvement. From his prison cell in Germany, where he is serving time for unrelated crimes, he has insisted he had nothing to do with Madeleine McCann. And so the case remains suspended in a haunting limbo. A prime suspect named, but justice still just out of reach. Meanwhile, Madeleine's face became one of the most recognizable in the world. Her wide eyes and blonde hair stared from every front page, every TV broadcast, billboards, posters, and online campaigns. Her parents launched a fund to support the search. Public appeals were made across continents. Police in both Portugal and the UK held packed press conferences, begging for tips. She became a symbol of innocence lost, of parental fear, of the global missing children crisis. But along with awareness came chaos. Tabloids spun theories of ransom notes and secret evidence. Rumors spread like wildfire, and too often, the noise drowned out the search for truth. 17 years have passed. Her parents are still searching. The world is still watching, and the mystery of Madeleine McCann remains unsolved. Until then, the world waits, and a little girl's face remains frozen in time. What do you think happened to Madeleine McCann? Was it a stranger abduction? A cover-up? Or is Christian Brückner truly responsible? Let me know in the comments. This is Decades in the Dark, where science brings the past to light. Subscribe for more stories where justice never expires.